Welcome to The New Next, a podcast that addresses current events and how they will impact the future. Co-hosted by the inquisitive public speaking champion, Mike McVeigh, and energy, economics, and technology expert, Matt Jensen. Join us as we explore all things energy, economic, tech, and political, and how they will affect our future.
One thing that we should talk about in the future is some of new mining technology that I hope is going to be commercialized in the next couple of years. That I don't know if necessarily copper is a good search for this, but I think it'll definitely make mining for strategically important commodities probably more efficient and more environmentally sustainable.
Yeah, I was actually kind of thinking about that while we're talking about this, because we've talked in the past about how sustainable the oil and gas industry are. And I know there's been some possibilities that we've talked about of helping kind of replenish the oils and stuff, or make it more likely to be sustainable. But when I think about mining, and honestly, my two references come from a video game and a card playing game, Magic the Gathering and World of Warcraft. That's actually how I learned about strip mining, was Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
And then living out in parts of Pennsylvania and near West Virginia, where there was land that had been strip mined so much that, like they said, if you don't want to drink water from the local rivers, you don't want to eat the fish if you catch any from those. The houses were really cheap in a certain area.
Yeah. Mostly
because there wouldn't be a company that would hook up water for you in that area because it was so unsafe. And then World of Warcraft, their mining is a skill you can take, and it starts with copper and it builds its all the way up. I never knew that cobalt was like actually a real material until just a couple of years ago. I thought it was just a made up one they're putting on their
it looks pretty cool.
Yeah. But how, because I'm assuming that some of these minerals and stuff have taken thousands, if not millions of years to form. How do we, and you said that some of this is going to be more sustainable. Is it just that we are learning to use less of it, or that there's a way to solidify it quicker, or like?
Well, I think new technology that can, well, we can talk more in depth one time. I know an inventor that has he's got 50 years plus in uranium mining, and he started filing some patents a couple years ago to basically utilize oil and gas methods to get towards these ultra deep, more dense mineral deposits.
Right.
So one is essentially sustainable mining while drilling, where you drill out these actual seams, and in the oil and gas process, you have cuttings, which is the rock that's returned in the mud to the surface. And usually that's either saved for testing kind of the mineral compounds, but or in his case, one of the patents is towards actually processing the minerals out of that. So you're essentially mining by returning the cuttings to the surface and then processing that out. So, essentially you have the footprint on the surface of a traditional oil and gas well pad, where you can drill a bunch of wells from a single pad rather than basically digging out a giant hole. One of the big issues that you have in 2022 is that a lot of the easy to mine minerals have already been mined, and where you have the dense minerals like way deeper down, it's too expensive and too dangerous to build traditional like underground mining caverns down there.
Right.
So you really have to get a different approach to that. And this is kind of a process to do that using kind of the oil and gas sort of methodology where it's minimal surface interruption, essentially.
Okay.
You just kind of like pull it out and then you process it. And after you're done, you can cement it. He has another patent, which is basically utilizing, hydraulic fracturing. So not at the pressures that fracking for oil does, but you can use a similar method there where with existing wells, you can put down essentially a leaching agent. So it's something like in oil and gas, they usually treat the rock so that the minerals kind of like stay in place and only the oil is released. This is kind of like the inverse of that. So you put it down a leaching agent, plug it off under, higher pressure. So like 4,000 to 5,000 PSI, plug it off, let it sit there for a couple days, drill out the plug, and then pull the leaching liquid, pump it to the surface. So in that scenario, the minerals are being essentially dissolved in the liquid. And then you can use like methods to essentially separate on the surface the minerals from the water. So you can treat the water, get the minerals, and then in both cases you can pump whatever or put whatever minerals that you don't need anymore back down hole. So like the Woodford Shale here in Oklahoma is really high levels of uranium. So that's application up in the Bakken. The Bakken Shale is really high contents of montebellum and nickel. So you have, working the math out, you have likely economics at or above what you get for oil and gas.
Okay.
And which is, I just kind of see that as a future. It's kind of like using a straw to suck it out from the depths, and you don't have to put people down there. You can put everything that you don't want back down in the hole. You're kind of using the milling and refining processes that you use now. So I think mining's, and probably some of the best characteristics I would say for it is you should be able to utilize oil and gas drilling permits. So the state drilling permits rather than, federal mining permit that may take 8 to 10 years. That would be a huge advantage. So you have the environmental effects. You also have the effects with this is that you don't have to lay down a bunch of, or let's step back for a second. So historically, when there's a big need for a lot of these commodities, a bunch of money is thrown at it, and then it comes online in 8 to 10 years later, and all at once, and then it kind of crashes. It crashes the market price. So this is a kind of an ability to, I would say, more smooth out the market price and more respond to it as available. So that's one thing that I would see as a huge potential benefit for responding to these kind of commodity prices or commodity needs for the electric vehicles in the future. That supports energy transition but doesn't destroy our environment at the same time. So let's cross our fingers that oil and gas companies and Richard, who created these patents, get lined up in more of a sustainable way in the future.
Right. Definitely. If you would like to learn more about the New Next podcast, find us at thenewNextPodcast.com, where you can suggest a topic you would like for us to cover, If you enjoyed what you heard, share the podcast, tell a friend about it, or rate us with 5 stars.